After the dinner, Julie was nice to me at school, which I hated. Mad was better than nice. Gaga was better than nice. It was like I was a stranger to her. And man, it bugged me. Bugged me big time. Then the auction happened, and I found myself with even bigger problems. The auction is this bogus way the Booster Club raises money for the school. They insist it's an honor to be chosen, but bull stinking loney to that. Bottom line is, 20 guys get shanghaied. They have to come up with fancy picnic lunches and then be humiliated in front of the whole school while girls bid to have lunch with them. Guess who made this year's top 20? You'd think mothers would say, hey, there's no way you're going to Toshin my son off to the highest bidder. But no, instead they're all flattered that their son's been elected a basket boy. Yes, my friend, that's what they call you. Over the PA, you hear stuff like, there will be an organizational meeting of the newly elected basket boys in the NPR at lunch today. All basket boys must attend. Pretty soon you've completely lost your name. You and 19 Saps are known simply as basket boy. My mom, of course, was into it, coming up with all sorts of stuff to put in my basket. So I'd get the highest bid. I tried to explain that I didn't want to be in Mayfield Junior High's Basket Boy Hall of Fame, and that really, like, what was in the basket didn't matter. It wasn't like girls were bidding on the basket. When you got right down to it, this was a meat market. You eat lunch on campus, and that's the end of it. It's hardly a meat market, Bryce. It's an honor. Besides, maybe someone really nice will bid on you, and you'll make a new friend. And then Garrett bends my ear with the news that Shelley Stalls is breaking up with Mitch Michelson, and that dude, he tells me, the two hottest chicks on campus. And I swear to God, man, Shelley's dumped Mitch because of you. I heard it direct from Chagrir. And dude, Chagrir the ear knows all. It throws me this nasty grin and says, me, I'm rooting for Jump. It would serve you right for being such a basket boy. I told him to shut up, but he was right. With the way my luck was running, I'd probably get stuck with Jumbo Jenny. I could just see it. 6 feet of beef babe downing both halves of my lunch, and then coming after me. Jenny's the only girl or guy on campus who can dunk the basketball. A whole gym shake when she lands. And since she's got female parabolas, the girl cold shave her head and make it in the NBA. Seriously. No one would ever suspect. Her parents give her anything she wants, too. Rumor has it, they converted their garage into a full-on basketball court just for her, which meant that in the game of the basket boys, I was as good a slam dunked. Unless Shelley or Miranda was high bidder. But how could Elle make sure that happened? My brain went into overdrive, constructing a plan, and Infa Indes decided that there was only one sensible course of action. Kiss up to both of them. halfway through my first day of doing this, I felt like a skunk. Not that was being gross about it or anything. I was just, friendly. And Event thought Shelley and Miranda didn't seem to smell a thing. Gary did. Dude, he says to me on Thursday, T can see your game, man. What are you talking about? Don't deny it, dude. You're working them both. You comes up and whispers in my ear, basketball or not, I'm in awe. Shut up, man. Seriously, the ear says they were like clawing each other in pee, and I've never seen my soul of human finds. But what can I find out tomorrow, won't we, dude? My mother dropped me off at school on Friday with my stupid oversized picnic basket, and since all basket boys have to dress up, I was choking in a time. Kids whistled and shouted, "Ooh, baby," as I headed up the walkway. And then Jumbo Jenny passed me, taking the front steps 3 at a time. "Wow, Bryce," she said over her shoulder. "You look
delicious."
Oh, man.
I practically ran to the classroom where all the basket boys were supposed to meet. And the minute I walked in, I felt better. I was surrounded by other tweebs who seemed genuinely happy to see me. "Hey, Losky. Yo. Dude. Doesn't this suck eggs? Why didn't you take the bus, man? Misery loves company." Then Mrs. McClure, the president of the boosters, the lady who lassoed Yuzul, hoofs it through the door. "Oh my," she says. "You all look so handsome." Not one word about our baskets. Not one little sneak peek inside. No, for all she cared, those puppies were empty. Meat market. You better believe it. "Don't be so nervous, boys, Mrs. McClure was saying, you're going to have a wonderful day." She pulls out a list of names and starts ordering us into line. We get numbers, our baskets get numbers. We fill out 3x5 cards to her insane specifications, and by the time she's got us all organized and assured we know what to do and what not to do, we've missed all of first and most of second period. Leave your baskets where they are and go to, where are we now? Still in second? She looks at the clock. Right. Second. What about passes? Some sensible basket boy asked. Your teachers have a list. But if they say anything, tell them I say, your neckties are your passes. I'll meet you back here when everyone's dismissed for the auction. Got it? Don't dawdle. We grumbled. Yeah. And headed to class. And I can tell you this, no tone of the 20 of us listened to a word any of our teachers said that morning. How can you listen with the noose around your neck, pinched toes, and a room full of idiots thinking it's open season on basket boys? Whoever started this stupid tradition ought to be crammed into a basket and tossed downstream without a serving spoon. I was basket boy number 9. which meant I had to stand there on the stage in the gym while nearly half the guys got auctioned off. Minimum bid, $10. And if nobody bid, the seeker was a teacher, was assigned to bid on you. It's all something that reasoned by my fine ways, that my feature sells, and that might give them so. I should know. My mom took an hour off work to be one of them. Tin Peller was basket boy number 5, and his mom actually bid on him, no kidding. She jumped up and down yelling, 20. I 1L, give you 20.
Man, that 1L brand you for life.
Lucky for Tim, Kelly Track came up with 2250 and saved his sorry self from everlasting torture as a mama's boy. One of the few fates worse than basket boy. Caleb Pluhez was up next, and he fetched the boosters all of 1150 thin, King Chad Onond, who I swear was ready to pee his pants when Mrs. McClure made him step forward. She read his card, pinched his cheeks, and raked in 15 even. At this point, what stood between me and the auction block was John Trulock. And I wasn't exactly interested in what he had in his basket or what his shabbies and favorite sports were. I was too busy standing the crowd for Jumbo Jenny, sweating my pits off. The clerk calls into the microphone, "Do I hear 10?" And it took me a minute to tune into the fact that no one said 10. No one said anything. Come on out there. The lunch is delicious. Strawberry tarts.
And Mrs. McClure goes back to reading off the 3x5 about John Trulock's lunch. Talk about him.
This was worse than being a mama's boy. Worse than lunch with Jumbo Jenny. How'd he get voted basket boy if nobody wanted to have lunch with him? Then off to the right of the crowd I hear, 10. 10. Did I hear 10? Mrs. McClure says with a fluttery smile. 12. Came a different voice from the same area. The first voice came back with 15, and all of a sudden, I recognized Woe's voice. It was Julie Baker's. I searched through the crowd and found her, hand waving in the air, that look all over her face. There was a pause, but then Julie shoots back with 18. She pauses, then says, 18 going once, 18 going twice, sold for $18. To Julie, he was the last person I expected to bid on a lunch. Anybody's lunch. John staggered back into line. And I knew I was supposed to step forward, but I couldn't budge. I felt like I'd been slugged in the stomach. Did Julie like John? Is that why she'd been so nice lately? Because she didn't care about me anymore. All my life she'd been there, waiting to be avoided, and know it was like I didn't even exist. Step up, Bryce. Come on. Don't be shy. Mike Avenito shoved me a little and said, "Your turn for torture. Get up there It felt like walking the plank. I just stood up front sweating bullets while the booster queen dissected my lunch and started running through my list of favorites. Before she's even finished, though, Shelley stalls, calls out 10. "What's that?" says Mrs. McClure. "I want to give you 10. "Oh," she laughs as she puts down her notes. "Well, I guess I hear 10. 20 calls Miranda looms from dead center. It's Shelley again. I'm looking around for Jumbo Jenny, praying she's gone home sick, or something. She's about 20 feet behind Miranda, cleaning her fingernails with her teeth. 45, 50, 52. 52, interrupts the booster queen. "Well, this has been lively." And from the looks of this basket, well worth the 60, calls Shelley. Miranda scrambles around trying to beg money off her Firians as Mrs. McClure calls, going once. 100. There's a collected gasp, and then the entire student body turns and stares at Jenny. "Well," laughs Mrs. McClure, "we have 100. That is certainly an all-time record. And such a generous donation to the boosters." I wanted to booster right off the stage. I was doomed. This was something I would never live down. Then there's this big commotion, and all of a sudden, Shelley and Miranda are standing right next to each other, calling 122.50. We want Jiffy 122.50, $122.50. I thought the booster queen is gonna poke her. "You're pooling your resources to have lunch with this fine young man?" "Yeah," they call. Then look over. Everybody looks over Tenny's way. Jenny just shrugs and goes back to cleaning a nail. "Well then, $122.50 going once. $122.50. Shelley and Miranda, he didn't even come close. He got Terry Norris for $16, and the most anyone else got was 40. And when it was over, all the guys told me, "Dude, you are like the man." Score, but I didn't feel like the man. I felt wiped out. My mom came up and gave me a hug and a kiss, like I'd won a gold medal or something. Then whispered, "My little baby," and clickety-clicked off in her high heels, back to work. So I was wiped out, embarrassed, and then practically dragged to the multi-purpose room by Shelley and Miranda. The boosters had outfitted the NPR with little tables for 2. I don't think I need to remind you that you are excused from class for the rest of the day. Enjoy your lunches, enjoy your friendships. Take your time, relax, and thanks again for supporting your boosters. We wouldn't be us without you. So there I was, with the 2 hottest girls on campus having lunch. Was the man the envy of every other guy in school? Buddy, I was miserable. I mean, these 2 girls may be gorgeous, but what was coming out of the announce about Jumbo Jenny was embarrassingly ugly. Miranda works herself personal. What was she thinking? Like you would ever want to go out with her, right, Bryce? Well, yeah, that was right. But maybe it seemed really wrong to say so. Looking, we talked about something else. Sure. Like, what? I don't care. Anything else? You guys going anywhere this summer? Miranda shoots off first. She flutters her eyelids at me and says, I could bring you something back. Shelley speaks her chair in a little and says, we're going up to the lake. Wee Dad has a cabin there, and you can get the most outrageous tan. Do you remember what I looked like at the beginning of this year? But I was like, Black, I'm going to do that again. Only this time I've got a schedule all worked out so that it's even everywhere. She giggles and says, don't tell my mom. Okay, she would have a knip. And this, my friend, is how the Tan Wars began. Miranda told Shelley that Shed didn't even notice her tan at the beginning of the year, and that the place Torially roast is on a cruise ship. Shelley told Miranda that anyone with freckles can't really get tan, and since Miranda had freckles everywhere, the cruise was a guaranteed waste of money. I choked down my third of the lunch and looked around the room, trying to let it all flow past me. Then I saw Julie. She was 2 tables away from me, facing my direction. Only she wasn't looking at me. She was looking at John, her eyes all sparkly and mine. My heart lurched. What was she laughing about? What were they talking about? Oh, could she sit there and look so beautiful? Marriage. I felt myself spinning out of control. It was weird. Like I couldn't even steer my own body. I'd always thought John was pretty cool, but right then wanted to go over and throw him across the room. Shelley grabbed my arm and said, Bryce, are you all right? You look, I don't know, possessed or something. What? Oh, I tried taking a deep breath. What are you staring at? Miranda asked. They both looked over their shoulders and shrugged and went back to picking at their food. But I couldn't stop myself from looking again. And in the back of my mind, I could hear my grandfather's voice saying, the choices you make now will affect you for the rest of your life. Do the right thing. Do the right thing. Do the right thing. Miranda shook me out of it, asking, Bryce, are you in there? I asked, what? Are you going to do this summer? I don't know. I snapped. And Play. Maybe you can spend some time up at the lake with us. Shelley said it was torture. I wanted to scream, shut up. Leave me alone. We wanted to run out of the building and keep on running until Walt didn't feel like this anymore. Lunch is really delicious, Bryce. Miranda's voice was floating around. Bryce, did you hear me? This is really a spectacular lunch. A simple little thank you would have sufficed. But could I come up with a simple little thank you? No. I turned on her and said, can we not talk about food? Or tans? Or hair? She gave me an uppity little smile. Well, what do you want to talk about then? I blinked at her, then at Shelley. How about perpetual motion? Know anything about that? Perpetual what? Miranda starts laughing. What? I ask her. What's so funny? I'm plenty smart. Yeah? Miranda giggles. Can you spell intellectual? TLE is too smart, Miranda. Oh, stop kissing up, Shelley. You're trying to tell me you're after his brain? God, it's making me sick to watch you grovel. Grovel? Excuse me? You heard me. He's not going to take you to the grad dance anyway, so just give it up, why don't you? And with that, it was all over. One of my mom's flaky apple tarts got found into Miranda's hair. The extra ranch dressing got smeared into Shelley's hand before Mrs. McClure could say, in the name of boosters. What are you doing? They were rolling on the floor, scratching each other's makeup off. I took this opportunity to leave my table and head for Julie's. I grabbed Herbie the hand and said, I've got to talk to you. And she sort of half stands and says, What's going on, Bryce? Why are they fighting? Excuse us a minute, would you, John? I pull her away from the table, but I was no place to go. I've got her hand in mine, and I just can't think. So LS top right there, in the middle of the room, and look at her. At that face. I want to talk about her cheek and see what it feels like. I want to touch her hair. It looks so incredibly soft. Bryce, she whispers, What's wrong? I can barely breathe as I ask her, Do you like him? DL, you mean John? Yes. Well, sure. Yeah. Nice. And no, do you like him? My heart was pounding through my chest as I took her other hand and waited. Well, no. I mean, not like that. She said no. I didn't care where I was. I didn't care who saw. I just had to kiss her. I leaned in, closed my eyes, and then she broke away from me. Suddenly, the room was dead quiet. Miranda and Shelley stared at me through their slimy hair. Everyone was looking at me like I'd blown my entire circuit board, and I just stood there, trying to reel in my lips and pull myself back together. Mrs. McClure took me by the shoulders, guided me to my chair, and told me, You sit here and you stay here. And she hauled Miranda and Shelley outside, scolding them and telling them to find separate bathrooms and clean up while she ran down the janitor to mop up their mess. I sat there by myself and didn't even care about covering her. I just wanted to be with her, to talk to her, to hold her hand again, to kiss her. Before school was out, I tried to talk to her again, but every time I got close, she dodged me. And then, when the final bell rang, she disappeared. I looked everywhere for her, but she was just gone. Garrett, however, wasn't. He just tracked me down and said, Dude, tell me it isn't true. I didn't say a word. I just headed for the bike racks, still hoping to find Julie. Oh man, it is true. Leave me alone, Garrett. You get hooked up with the two finest chicks on campus, then bail on them for Julie? You don't... Did you seriously try to kiss her? I couldn't believe that part. We're talking Juliana Baker, your nightmare neighbor, the know-it-all nuisance, the coop babe. I stopped cold and shoved him. Just way into him with both hands and shoved. Oh, that was a long time ago, man. And knock it off. Garrett put both hands up, but moved in at me. Dude, you have flipped, you know that? Just back off, would you? He blocked my path. I can't believe this. And 2 hours ago, you were FEMA. The man. The whole school was on their knees before you. Now look at you. You're like a social hazard. Amy snorted and said, and dude, the truth is far more than my way, and I got right in a face. Good, because you know what? Neither do I. I shoved him aside and ran. I wound up walking home. In my kinchy shoes, with dirty dishes, clanking inside my sticky picnic hamper, this basket boy hiked all the way home. And there was a battle raging inside me. The old Bryce wanted to go back in time, wanted to hang with Garrett and shoot the breeze, wanted to hate Julie Baker gang, wanted to be the man. But in my heart, I knew the old Bryce was toast. There was no going back not to Garrett, or Shelley, or Emma Miranda, or any of the other people who wouldn't understand. Yuli was different, but after all these years, that didn't bother me no more. I liked it. I liked her. And every time I saw her, she seemed more beautiful. She just seemed to glow. I'm not talking like a 100-watt bulb. She just had this warmth to her, maybe. It came from climbing that tree. Maybe it came from singing to chickens. Maybe it came from whacking Atlo by fours and dreaming about perpetual motion. I don't know. All I know is that compared to her, Shelley and Miranda seemed so ordinary. I'd never felt like this before. Ever. And just admitting it to myself, instead of hiding from it, made me feel strong. How happy. I took off my shoes and socks and stuffed them in the basket. My tie whipped over my shoulder as I ran home barefoot, and I realized that Garrett was right about one thing. I had flipped. Completely. I trucked down our street and spotted her bike lying on its side on the driveway. She was home. I rang the bell until I thought it would break. No answer. I pounded on her door. No answer. I went home and called on the phone. And finally, her mother answers. Bryce? No, I'm sorry. She doesn't want to talk. And she whispers, give her a little time. Won't you? I gave her an hour. Almost. Then I went across the street. Please, Mrs. Baker. I've got to see her. She's locked herself in her room, dear. Why don't you try phoning tomorrow? Tomorrow. Tomorrow? I couldn't wait until tomorrow. So Led went around the side of the higher house, climbed the fence, and knocked on our window. Julie, please, I've got to see you. Her curtains didn't open, but the back door did, and out came Mrs. Bakertoe, shoo me away. When I got home, my granddad was waiting at the front door. Bryce, what is going on? You've been running back and forth to the Bakers, climbing over their fence. You're acting like the world's on fire. I blurted, I can't believe this. I just can't believe this. She won't talk, Tom. I led me into the front room, saying, who won't talk to you? Julie, he hesitated. Is she mad at you? I don't know. Yes. I mean, I don't know. Well, what happened? I tried to kiss her in front of this whole room of people while I was supposed to be having that stupid basket born lunch with Shelley and Miranda. I tried to kiss her. Slowly, a smile spread across his face. You did? I was like possessed. I couldn't stop myself. But she pulled away, and
I looked out the window at the baker's house.
the National talked to me very quietly. My grandfather said, maybe she thinks this is all a little sudden, but it's not. No, I mean, I turned to him. It started with that stupid newspaper article. And I don't know. I've been weirded out ever since. She doesn't look the same. She doesn't sound the same. She doesn't even seem like the same person to me. I stared out the window at the bakers. She's just different. No, Bryce, he said softly. She's the same as she's always been. You're the one who's changed. He clapped his hand on my shoulder and whispered, we came to merry way. I can't eat. I can't watch TV. I can't seem to do anything. So I went to bed early, but I can't sleep. I've watched her house from my window for hours now. I've stared at the sky. I've counted sheep. But man, I can't stop kicking myself for what an idiot I've been all these years. And now how am I going to make her listen to me? I'd scale that monster sycamore, if I could, right to the top, and I'd yell her name across the rooftops for the whole world to hear. And since you know what a tree climbing weenie-lum, I think it's pretty clear, but I'm willing to do anything to get her to talk to me. Man, I'll now dive after her into a chicken coop full of poop. If that's what it takes, I'll ride my bike all the stinking way to school for the rest of eternity, if it means being with her. Something. I've got to come up with something to show her that I've changed, to prove to her that I understand. But what? how do I show her that I'm not the guy she thinks lamb? How do I erase everything I've done and start over? Maybe I can't. Maybe it just cannot be done. But if I've learned one thing from Julie Baker, it's that I gotta put my whole heart and soul into it and try. Whatever happens, I know that my grandfather's right about one thing. I will never be the same again.